Mr. Chairman, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, members of the committee. My name is Danny Murphy. I'm a former assistant United States attorney for the Western District of Virginia. I'm a retired Army judge advocate, having retired in 2020 out of the Army's Office of the Judge Advocate General. And I currently serve as the West Virginia State Director for Right on Crime. And Right on Crime is a national campaign for the Texas Public Policy Foundation, and we support conservative solutions for reducing crime, restoring victims, reforming offenders, and lowering taxpayer costs. And I would add that since 2007, Right on Crime has been a national leader on implementing conservative criminal justice reforms across the nation.
Okay. Well, if you could please very quickly raise your right hand and swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Okay. Thank you. And Mr. Murphy, I'll ask the same question that I've asked our other guests. If you had an opportunity to review the committee substitute or hear counsel's description of it?
I have, Mr. Chairman.
And so if you'd like to please share your general thoughts, we'd welcome them.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity. Right on Crime also supports Senate Bill 493 in so much as it serves to reduce barriers to professional licensure for individuals with prior convictions who, after serving their sentence and repaying their debt to society, are seeking access to meaningful employment. As the committee is well aware, and one of the primary predictors of criminal recidivism is a lack of meaningful employment. And the colleague, Ms. Forbes, highlighted some of the research in this area, but this bill makes meaningful employment far more accessible to individuals seeking to re-enter the workforce. I would highlight that the bill's language promotes consistency in its application. I would argue that it lessens the risk of more capricious application of what is currently an ambiguous standard, that is that rational nexus standard. It improves on existing law. It provides clarity in guidance and application. And I would submit also that I don't perceive the bill to be particularly controversial. I think the bill improves on existing law, removing that ambiguity and replacing it with a far more appropriate and easily understood standard of directly and specifically related. I appreciate the opportunity to testify, Mr. Chairman. I'd be happy to answer any questions from members of the committee at this time.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time, and I'll open it up for any questions that the members of the committee might have. Let's see if I have any lights here. I have a question, Mr. Murphy. Over the past couple of years, his Right on Crime worked with, has there been more of a gearing towards what we have before us, moving away from the rational nexus test, and this is kind of reflective of what we're seeing nationwide?
It is, and as Ms. Forbes mentioned, so Right on Crime, we're relatively limited in the number of states that we're working in. We do work in obviously in Kentucky and in Florida and in Texas and Tennessee, and we are seeing a shift to this standard in those states and others nationwide. I would ask if the chairman would give me an opportunity. I'd like to maybe put a little bit of an example on this. And so a member of the committee had asked how we apply and what some of the confusion is with that rational nexus standard. And I'd like to give a simple example of a prior misdemeanor conviction of shoplifting. And so take an 18-year-old who was convicted of a minor shoplifting offense under a very amorphous definition of crimes of moral turpitude. I would say a shoplifting offense, as an example, a larceny, a theft, that's traditionally a crime of moral turpitude. And so if now a 22-year-old has gone on through schooling and is attempting to receive licensure, for example, as an electrician, well, there may be some people who would see that prior conviction for shoplifting as a prohibition. Hey, there's a rational nexus related to that prior conviction of shoplifting to, hey, what happens when an electrician has to pull permits, in order to oversee a particular job? Well, I would argue that a prior shoplifting offense from 4 years prior is really not a rational nexus between it and a licensure for becoming an electrician. So rather, what we want to do is shift that rational nexus argument that can be that anybody can fit to their own individual purposes. And instead, we narrow that to be directly related to the license for which the individual is seeking.
Senator from Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Murphy, thank you for joining us. One of the things I like about this bill, I don't know whether you would be expected to know this, but West Virginia has struggled for years, if not generations, with its workforce participation rate numbers. And maybe this is unfair to ask you to give us a sua sponte economic forecast or anything like that, but do you see this as a measure that could help with that?
Well, Senator, I appreciate the question. I don't care to be a prognosticator necessarily on the effect it will have in terms of people's willingness to seek jobs. But what I do believe it will do is eliminate the risk that people who are seeking meaningful employment are otherwise restricted by people who are in positions to deny them the licensure that they so need, because people are pursuing opportunities because they want to get back to the workforce. And so for the people that want to return to the workforce, I believe it is sound policy for us to reduce any barriers that are preventing from people who want to enter the workforce from entering the workforce. I hope that answers the senator's question.
No, thank you very much.
One last call. Further questions? I don't see any. Mr. Murphy, thank you again for being here today and taking your time, and also thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and yours.
Thank you.